Welcome back, everyone. We have a great guest. We got Ben from Armor for Sleep. How are you doing today?
Good. I guess great. Thank you for the awesome introduction.
Anytime, man. Well, let's dip into this. You guys are about to hit the 20th anniversary for What Do You Do When You're Dead? What are some of your fondest memories recording that, and what are some of your least fondest memories?
It was recording that album was an interesting time because obviously it's an album that has meant a lot to us over the years and one of my favorite parts of the timeline of our band. But when we went to record that album, I was actually kind of down in the dumps. We honestly there was a lot of a hype amongst like our fellow friends that were bands for our first album called Dream to Make Believe. And this was a time in the early 2000s when bands were getting huge overnight. And a lot of people around us told us that once Dream to Make Believe came out, we would be this like massive band. We would blow up like a lot of our friends were doing. And it didn't happen. And I felt a little dejected maybe and like was questioning what I was doing in the band. So What to Do When You're Dead was really written thinking nobody would hear it. And so my memory of being in the studio recording that was just like, okay, I'm gonna make this album for fun. I was coming at it from kind of like a strange lyrical place, but I was like, I don't know if anyone's gonna get it. Actually, I had a lot of people telling me not to do it because they were confused that it was a concept album, you know what I mean? Like, so I just have a fun memory of just being like, fuck it, I'm gonna make an album that I think is cool. And then it's just funny to think of like, that in a way became our defining album. So it's, things kind of happen differently than you think. And of course there are plenty of times when, we thought we were onto something huge and that thing like kind of fell on its face. So that's what I think of. And it is kind of bittersweet because it is fun to think about how I was just writing the lyrics because I thought it was cool and we didn't think anyone would hear it. But I was also a little bummed out at that time. So it's like the good and the bad.
I thought that was crazy because I was reading that you had like kind of a turnaround where you guys did the first record and then you guys went straight into this recording and it came out like not a few months, but like about 8 months after that. I thought that was crazy. Is
Yeah.
it just because you guys were trying to see if you guys could catch another break or?
Yeah, it's just kind of the pace of things at that time was, see how quickly you could turn it around. And so just it all happened kind of fast.
And at that time, you guys were at the label. How much control did you guys have over the track lining, like the lining up of the tracks? Did you guys get to pick that, or did they?
Yeah, so it's funny, like outside perspective of record labels and bands, a lot of people think the record labels come in and really dictate what happens on a record, and honestly I think that is how it happens to a certain extent, but our experience with that was never like that, especially with Equal Vision Records, the label that put out What to Do When You're Dead, the label that still puts out our new music. They are a rare label that is completely supportive of their artists. So with us, Equal Vision was always like, we trust you, do what you want, and that's kind of, I think, how it should be. Equal Vision signed us because they were like, we believe in you as an artistic entity, so we trust whatever you want to do. So they always let us write the songs we wanted to write, pick the track order of the album, do a whole album and then present it like, hey, we have an album about being dead and it's a story from front to back and we want to put a little booklet in there. And they were like, sick, yeah, let's do it. They've always been kind of that partner in our corner. And we haven't always had that. Actually, we tried one album to go to Warner Brothers, which is a big, huge corporate label, and I guess that's when we saw the other side of the coin, that not every label is that supportive, especially not a cool indie label. So much thanks to Equal Vision for always having our back and letting us do our thing.
That's what I was gonna ask like later on, because now you guys are back on an indie compared to a big. Like, what was that experience, and did you like hate being on a big one? Because like I feel like indie labels take care of their artists compared to major labels. You're just another artist, kind of.
Yeah. Yes, the big rumor about major labels is that they ruin bands, and to some extent that's true, but a lot of it is situational. So usually when you get signed to a major label, it's because you've been selling a lot of records on an indie label and kind of making a name for yourself. And yeah, a major label wants to take that and capitalize on it. But a lot of what majors miss is they're not tapped into that fan base that indie labels are. So like with us, when we signed to Warner Brothers, I think Warner Brothers just kind of thought the machine would just keep going on its own, but they kind of had this attitude that they didn't have to like keep working us and keep promoting us because they were like, oh no, Armor for Sleep's already a big band. We're just gonna
Right.
go and sink more money into it. And it doesn't really happen that way. Like you need that indie label that's connected with all those fans a lot of times.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree, and looking back at those 2 first records, do you wish you changed anything? Because 'Cause they're concepts, that was really not a thing I feel back in those days.
No, I don't think I wish to have changed anything. Maybe that's kind of a deeper question though. Like, do you I feel like all the quote unquote mistakes I've made in my life
Mhm.
have I've learned from them and they've made me who I am. So I don't kind of like regret anything that I've done because I'm happy with who I am now. And I would not be who I am now if I hadn't, gone down those different paths that I had gone down. So, everything that we've done that maybe caused us a hardship or friction, I think we've tried to learn from it and be a better band because of it. And so yeah, so weird stuff has happened to
Yeah.
us. I'm just happy to have lived through it all. I think it makes for an interesting story. And at the end of the day, I'd rather like live an interesting life, even if some of the stuff has been kind of weird, than just be like a dude who just has an office job for 50 years and then dies or whatever. I don't know.
Right. And with you guys doing concept records, were there any songs that got left off those records that became archive songs or got reused for other albums?
Good question. Yeah, every album kind of has a B-side.
Mhm.
Dream to Make Believe, there's a song called Pointless Forever that was a demo that we were playing a lot that actually got left off the record. And honestly, we probably just should have put that one on the record. And then for What to Do in Your Dead, there's a song called Very Invisible that's a B-side that we could have put on the record, but I think we cut that in just for the sake of keeping the record not getting too long.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of like a part of the record. So like spoiler alert, we'll probably play that song on our
Ooh.
20-year anniversary tour because I feel like it's always been a part of the record.
And, like, looking at that record, it's a pretty long record. How do you guys get to be able to play something that long being a headliner? Like, a lot of, venues are not cool with, like, super long sets, you know?
Well, funny enough, so it's like a 40-minute record. A lot of the bands we tour with play for like an hour and a half every night, like
Yeah.
headlining bands, which like is kind of insane. But yeah, so I think we're definitely gonna play the full record.
Mhm.
We might not play it in the exact order that it is on record. We might. We also might not. We
Right.
might switch it up show to show. And then what I think we're gonna do is once the record is done, or maybe in some creative way, we're definitely gonna play other songs from our different albums in there that maybe we haven't played in a bit. We have been pretty active over the past few years, so we're gonna try and play songs that we haven't been hitting on the last couple runs if people have come out and seen us. So we're gonna try and make everyone happy.
That's crazy, and with you guys having, like, those 4 records and you guys have 2 singles you guys put out,
Yeah.
do you have it where there's songs you haven't played live that you're wanting to play live?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of them. And,
Mhm.
obviously we have to play all of What to Do in Your Dead. So that
Of course.
does eat up a bunch of time. But, I think recently I've been thinking exactly about that question. Like there are a lot of songs that we've never gotten to play. And I would love to play them, whether that's on this tour or future tours. Like we technically have only been, we're pretty much dead from 2009 until a
Yeah.
couple years ago. And then we have been on a bunch of tours. So I feel like the first few tours we've been back on, it's kind of been reminding people of like, our old catalog. But I feel like we're getting to the point now where I'm like, okay, we can dig a little deeper. And the
Right.
people who are still coming to our shows now, maybe have seen those songs a bunch. So we're looking forward to maybe, yeah, playing some deeper cuts for everyone.
That'd be cool, and with you going back and learning these songs because 'cause they're a little older, like you're saying, do you play them exactly how the record was, or do you kind of make them towards your playing nowadays?
That's a good question. Yeah, they definitely evolve, and I think, well, just in general, playing a song live is different than
Oh, yeah.
playing it on record. Like a lot of times, for instance, like I write the guitar and the vocals, and a lot of times when I go to record in the studio, the guitars are recorded separately from the vocals. But when I actually play live and have to play the guitar at the same time of singing, sometimes it changes how I sing just because mechanically it's tough to do a rhythm of a vocal melody and a
Yeah.
guitar melody. So naturally, I'll change a vocal melody or the vocal syncopation, or vice versa. I'll change how I'm playing something on guitar. So I think songs naturally evolve like that. And yeah, sometimes people are like, why are you singing it differently like this year than you did last year? And a lot of times my answer is I don't know. That's just like kind
Right.
of how I'm doing it now. So yeah, there's a lot of like unconscious things that happens, but nothing major. I don't think we're trying to like ruin the integrity of the song, and I think we aim to keep it as pure to the record as possible, for better or worse.
Of course. And over the years, you've been playing in this industry for quite a while. How has your gear differed, like recording wise or even touring? Has it changed a lot?
Really good question. It has changed a massive deal, and it's really interesting. So this has been an industry, and actually, I don't know how many people like casual concert goers are aware of this, but there's been a massive change in the last maybe like 5 to 6 years of live equipment that's used.
Yeah.
When we started touring in the mid 2000s, we were lugging around guitar amplifiers everywhere, which are can be hundreds of pounds. They're giant speakers on stage, and you plug in your guitar. Speakers make loud noise on stage, and you plug a mic into it, and then those mics amplify your guitar amps through the club. The annoying things about amplifiers is they break a lot. They're super heavy. You have to lug them around in a trailer. And since then, we were like, man, it would be really cool if there was just a digital way to simulate all the sounds. And I think we were predicting then like the age would come. And so now we have arrived at that time when every single sound you can make through an actual amplifier is able to be digitally replicated through these pedals that live on stage. So there's a company called Kemper that was the first to do it. Another company called Line 6 does a lot of them. And so basically, instead of lugging around an amp on stage, I carry around a little box that can fit in my backpack, and I plug it in every night on stage, and it makes the same consistent sound. We don't have to worry about amps breaking, and it literally is the same sound that comes from a normal amp. It's just a digital version of it, and it has made touring a lot easier. A lot stuff breaks a lot less. We have less to lug around. There's less stuff that can be stolen. It's just cool. So I feel like it's like riding the wave of the future to be able to do all this stuff digitally, and it gives us more options. We can switch between sounds more easily. So that's probably been the biggest change that I've loved touring over the past few years.
And do you guys use in-ears and all that stuff too?
Yeah, I have a pair of molded in-ears
Nice.
from this amazing company. Hold on, they're right here. Called Jerry Harvey Audio. So I got my ears molded. This guy stuck gel like really deep into my ear canal, and I have custom molds in my ears, and all of that is an attempt to try and not lose our hearing,
Of
because
course.
it can get really loud on stage. So this way we've got stuff that plugs our ears up, and we hear what we need to hear, and we don't hear what we don't need to hear. But who knows? I'll probably still be deaf in a few years anyway.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
And, you've been in this industry for quite a while, as I keep saying. How has your writing and recording for you changed since the first record to the last record, or from the last 2 singles you guys put out?
Very good question. Yeah. I think a lot of that is just like a question about my own personal comfort with myself. I think the beginning stuff that we did, like Dream to Make Believe and What to Do in Your Dead, I wrote pretty much in isolation. I was not concerned about what anybody else thought. I was just doing what I thought was cool. And then being in my mid 20s, I was very affected by like external factors and what other people thought of the songs. And I think I just let it get too much in my head. And now I'm at the point where I've been through life. Like, what's crazy is I'm 41 now. I wrote What to Do When You're Dead when I was 20 years old. So
Dang,
I've actually lived the same amount of life since What to Do When You're Dead to now that I did from when I was born to What to Do When You're Dead.
crazy.
Which is crazy. So for me now, writing, I've gone back to like not caring what anybody thinks. Obviously, it's a totally different
Of course.
landscape now. The band is in a different place, the scene
Yeah.
is in a different place. But when I write, I have that same feeling that I did going to write Dream to Make Believe, where I'm just thinking about what makes me feel something. I'm thinking
Mhm.
about, just what could make a song that could resonate with someone, just tapping into real things that I've gone through in my life, so it's cool. I feel like I'm finally back to that place again, and I'm really excited about the new stuff that we have in the works.
Ooh.
And yeah.
That was, like, gonna be one of the questions because you guys did put out 2 singles last year, so we're definitely wanting more, that those are some of the best singles I've heard in a while from any of the bands from that era, so
Oh,
that's
thank
pretty
you so
cool.
much. Yeah, I feel like the next thing we do, well, I'll say this. The next thing that we're gonna put out, I feel like is, my favorite thing that we've ever
Ooh.
done. And not like it is going to be the last thing that I ever do, but I was just talking to our label and I was like, if this is the last thing that we ever do, like if the world ends the day after it
Right.
comes out, I will be like happy that that is like our final thing. It's just, I'm really stoked about it. So
Can I at least ask, so you guys did release the record in 2022 and you did do
yeah,
the 2 singles.
yeah.
Have you been writing since then, or have you started writing back again since 2024?
Um, so it's kind of a never-ending process for me.
Mhm.
When we want to do an album is like when decide to like finish working on the songs that have been in the works for a while. So yeah, so it's a never-ending process, I guess.
That makes sense.
Although since the last bunch of stuff we recorded, I have not written anything, but that's only been like a month ago from now.
Right, and, you guys are about to go on a tour in March to celebrate this amazing record. How do you
Thank
guys
you.
get ready for a tour nowadays?
Well, it is a little interesting. I moved out to the LA area a bunch of years ago, and the rest of the dudes in the band are in New Jersey. So we kind of do like a little combination of remote getting ready.
Mhm.
Like right now, I think that's the phase we're in. I'm kind of getting the set list together now and doing a bunch of the stuff that's going to play in between the songs and a bunch of like the video show that is going to happen in
Nice.
some cities. And then about a week before the tour starts, so the tour starts March 6th in Boston. I'm going to fly to New Jersey and we're going to rehearse for like a week before the tour starts. But by that point, everyone already has all the songs that we're going to play, and Nash, Eric, and Chad are going to be well rehearsed in New Jersey. So by the time we all practice together, it's going to be like, we've already done all the work, which is different. Back in the day, we used to, day one of rehearsal was like, what the fuck are we doing? Let's get started. But now like we're more prepared, and day one is almost like day 30.
That's crazy, and, like,
Yeah.
looking back, because you guys have the I will say, because I grew up with your guys' music, you guys had some of the craziest videos, so are you guys gonna go into that type of situation with the tour, like, because you were talking about video and stuff?
Yeah, so for most of the tour, we have a backdrop that we did for this tour that's going to be behind us, but some of the venues have like an LCD video wall, and usually that's like, oh man, we can't hang our banner because there's a video screen, but I'm actually making a video that's going to be in sync with the album for the whole
Nice.
set that's going to play at those shows. And it's actually making me want to be like, damn, I almost wish we could get a video screen for the whole tour, which is something that might happen. I don't know if we'll be able to pull it together, but yeah. So those shows that do have that video screen are going to be like the special select shows.
That's crazy, and then, I have to ask, a lot of songs get popular later on in your guys' careers. Is there any songs that weren't popular back then, that are popular now that you never expected?
There's a song from Dream to Make Believe called Raindrops. It's actually like a pretty chill, long-winded song that was never popular back in the day, and it's kind of like it's definitely a deep cut on that album. I think it's track 8 or something. And that's a song that we hear about a lot, and it's really interesting because we never did a music video for it. We never gave it any extra love or anything. But yeah, that's just one song that jumps out as something that I was not expecting. But over the years, like we hear about it in random places all over.
Would you ever go back and do a video nowadays even though it's later on?
That would be an interesting idea. Yeah, maybe we should.
'Cause I've learned that from the last band I interviewed last week. They're like, "Yeah, one of our songs from, like, our 2nd record became really big while on tour, so we decided to do a video for it." I was like,
That's
"Oh,
awesome.
okay." So, because
Yeah, I would
that's
love to.
and then, you're around, like, when the MTV era was, like, huge. What are
Mhm.
some of your favorite videos you guys did, and, did you keep anything from those videos?
Oh my god, that's so funny you say that. Yeah, so we did our video for Car Underwater was a
Mhm.
fun little video to shoot. It was I think it was literally 20 degrees on the top of a rooftop in Brooklyn when we filmed that video, but we had one night to film it, so we had to shoot it anyway. And
Dang.
it's funny watching the video now, my nose is like bright red because I was probably like on the verge of getting frostbite. But yeah, there's a prop in the video that's like a Polaroid picture of me and I guess who was supposed to be my girlfriend at the
Yeah.
time of the video. It's actually my friend Lonnie. Hi Lonnie, if you're watching this. Um, but I was looking through some notebooks in my closet here that I had taken over from my mom's house in New Jersey where I grew up, and I found that Polaroid in a notebook
How
that I
cool.
must have kept from the video shoot. So maybe we'll do like a raffle or something, and I'll auction it off so someone can own that
Dang.
Polaroid.
Not gonna lie, those are some of the most interesting videos, and I rewatched them for this interview, and I was like, "Wow, dude, you guys put so much work," and just
Yeah,
to tell me you only had a day to do it in,
yeah,
wow, because there's, like, so many pictures, like, you see a bunch of flyers from you guys,
yeah,
outfit changes from you,
yeah, yeah,
so many things. It
yeah.
was
Those are fun times.
those are, like, some of, like, I feel like there's a lot of cool videos, like Sum 41 stuff, but you guys did stuff a lot of bands weren't doing, like I mentioned earlier, like concept records, I feel like that
Mhm.
wasn't really a thing during that time either.
Yeah, yeah, definitely always loved a good, concept album, and, yeah, like, I don't know, maybe it's because I loved obviously, like, I grew up going to shows and hardcore shows and punk shows, but I also liked music from outside, like, one of my
Right,
favorite bands was always Radiohead, and they put out an album called OK Computer. That was, like, kind of a concept, and I was like, "Man, I know I'm into, like, hardcore and pop punk and all this stuff, but, like, what if there was a concept album that was, like,
right,
emo?" Like, I don't know. It was a cool idea to me at the time, and obviously, a bunch of my peers thought the same thing, like
right.
Black Parade, was definitely an amazing concept, and, so yeah, that was it was just always fun and interesting to me.
Did you feel like you guys ever started kind of that, like, trend with bands of that era?
Oh, I don't wanna claim that we were the first and we started it. I will say I'm honored that I was part of that, like, collective
Yeah,
consciousness and, we did our piece that was part of this, like, massive wall
right,
of our other friends. Obviously, like, My Chem and Black Parade was a much bigger
of course, of course.
album, but, it is cool that, we were also, like, in the mix at that time, and that'll always be special, but, like, absolutely, we would never say, "Oh, we were the first," or
Right,
"We influenced this or that." Like, no, 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 like, I would never say that. Again, we're just happy that we were in the mix with everything very cool going on at the time, and that we had some amazingly talented artistic friends who, we were lucky enough to be playing with at the same time, and, I only have love for all of my friends' bands, and it's been really cool to watch everyone else, kinda grow up yeah, it's been great.
right, and what I learned is, when I do my research, you
Mhm.
guys only did Warped Tour in 2005, and it was saying that you guys did that was, like, the tour for the 2nd record,
Yeah,
and then you guys toured again for, 2006. I was
yeah,
surprised you guys didn't play that many Warped Tours, I thought you guys
yeah,
did more, because
yeah,
you guys
no,
been that era.
yeah, that's true. We only did 2. The first one, I think, and your research is correct, I believe, so good job. In 2005, I think we only did a month of it. We were sharing a bus with, From First to Last, which was awesome. And then, yeah, in 2006, we did the whole thing, but that's it. I don't know why. I don't think, we would have loved to do more, but I guess, Kevin Lyman, who's the main dude at Warped Tour, he was the one who called all the shots with what
Right,
bands were on it. So you'd have to ask him why we didn't do more, but we would have loved to do more. Suffice
of
it to say, we had a blast when we did do Warped Tour.
course.
So only good memories there.
And, with doing those, were there any bands that you tried to catch every day with both tours?
Well, so I've told this story a bunch, but it was very cool getting to share a bus with From First to Last. That's
Mhm.
when Sonny was 16 years old, and it was crazy because they were blowing up, and I knew very little about them, but watching them play every night and watching people gravitate towards this 16-year-old kid,
Right,
and then getting to be in a bus with him and hang out with him and see that he's like the nicest kid ever. Like I was
mhm,
like, I think this kid is like more special than just this band. He was super
right,
talented. I remember they were making demos in the back of the bus and he was playing insane guitar solos by himself. And I was like, Sonny is like really talented. So that was really cool. And then also I remember seeing a young band from the South who had extremely charismatic young female singer named Paramore,
Oh,
and
shit.
I was just blown away by Haley, and
Mhm.
always wanted to be friends with her, because like I just was kind of like overcome by how talented she was even at that age. And we got to play some shows with them in Canada. I believe we were opened up for some band called Bullet for My Valentine, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
I could be wrong about that. And Paramore played, and it was at a venue in London, Ontario, called
Dang.
Call the Office, I think. And I was standing there with the guys in my band watching Haley on stage. And I remember saying to them, I was like, and by the way, they were opening up for us, so we played after them.
That's crazy.
And I told my bandmates, I was like, she and this band are going to be way bigger than we're ever going to be. And they were like, nah, dude, no way. And I was like, absolute. I was like, they're going to be bigger than every band ever. And like, I was right about that. I'll take credit for that. I saw in Haley, how amazing she was.
Right.
And that's been amazing to see them.
She is extremely talented, so I see what
Yeah.
you're saying on that one. To see from that year to now, wow, that must
Yep.
have been a hell of an experience, to be honest
Hmm.
with you. And then, when performing live, do you have any favorite, like, lyrics you sing or guitar riffs you play, like, exactly hit you the same when you played them the first time?
I like playing a song from What to Do in Your Dead called Basement Ghost Singing. Just because it's one of the more chill songs of our set, and a lot of that record is like very upbeat, kind of like thrashy. When I listen to it now, What to Do in Your Dead sounds like a punk record. A lot of the songs are super fast, but Basement Ghost Singing is a chiller song, and it's cool to play that song in that album because it's like it definitely takes a breath, and it's fun to watch people who have been moshing just like stand there and be able to like take in a song that has some air in the verses, and that it's not blasting them in the face. So like I always like when we get to that song.
That's pretty cool. And you guys recently did, well, you did, where you played for, because the LA fires. I saw that you guys did the
Yeah,
Garden Amp thing.
yeah.
Do you prefer doing, like, the acoustic stuff too, or because I know you guys did it all stripped down and stuff like that?
Yeah, so that was actually just me. So JT from Hawthorne Heights called me on a Sunday and was like, "We want to do a benefit show. Do you want to play an acoustic set on Thursday?" And I was like, "Yes, sure. Why not? It's for a good cause." Yeah, so that's actually only like the second solo acoustic show I've ever done in my life. The first one was actually like 3 months ago in Dallas. This venue called me up and was like, "Hey, do you want to play an acoustic show?" I was like, "Sure." So I was kind of rehearsed from just doing that show, so it was no problem for me to go and play this benefit show. But yeah, I actually really loved it. It was a no-brainer to play, but B, it was a lot of fun because everybody who was at the Garden Grove that night, were just really happy to be doing something good. I think all of the ticket sales, literally every dime went to help a few different organizations helping people who were affected by the fires. So everyone at the show just had a big smile on their face. I think everyone was feeling good about themselves. It was very cool to watch these artists come up just playing in order to raise money for the charity. So when I was on stage playing my songs, it was just good vibes all around. People had smiles on their face. It was a beautiful night, actually, and it wasn't that long after the fires, and it had been pretty like windy for a couple of weeks, and this was like a perfectly still, warm night. So the vibes were great. I had fun playing the acoustic set, and yeah, I would definitely do that again. Yeah, I would do like a little acoustic tour or something if people wanted to come see it.
And do you feel like, because just it's different than doing a whole band thing. Did you have to, like, kind of adapt it to, like, something else since it's acoustic compared to electric?
Yeah, totally. When practicing for those shows, there were a couple like oh shit moments. Like for instance, like Truth About Heaven, the song from What to Do in Your Dead, it starts, there's a pretty like signature guitar octave lead that happens, but there's like a rhythm guitar playing behind it. And I was like, shit, if I'm just playing acoustic, like
Right.
playing one guitar by myself, how do I do that? So I had a little panic moment, and then I figured out there's like a way that I can kind of play the melody with my pinky and play. So like I figured out this like hybrid way to do it. So like once I started figuring those out for the other songs, I was like, oh wow, now I want more people to hear this. So that's why like I'm saying like I wouldn't mind if I did more.
Right. And with touring, is there any bands that you love touring with? I know you guys are going back on tour with Hello Goodbye, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Can't wait to tour with Forrest and Hello Goodbye. Actually, like, yeah, so they're on tour with us. I still didn't tell Forrest this, even though we've been texting about the tour. They played in LA like 4 years ago,
Mhm.
and I did have his number in my phone. I didn't realize it at the time, but I just like bought tickets and went to their show and like danced the whole time. And I didn't tell him, even up until now that I was at that show. But yeah, I love Hello Goodbye.
Mhm.
Yes, we toured with them a bunch back in the day, so I'm excited to be back with them now. Also, we toured a bunch with Boys Night Out, the other band on this
Yeah.
tour, so I'm excited for them. Also, Boys Night Out has not played since like 2007 in any kind of like
Dang.
meaningful way. They've played a couple festivals, but this is going to be their
Mhm.
first like tour back. So really excited to see what they're gonna do.
That's crazy, and with touring with bands like that, is there anything you learn and you take and apply to your own band or your own, solely?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whoever we tour with, it's kind of like they rub off on you. And I always find myself after we've been on tour with a band for like a month, like the songs that I write right after that are always influenced by whatever flavor that band had. And
Right.
yeah, there's always that.
Is there any band you would love to collab with?
Oh man. Sure. I mean, if I think about it, like one of the other artists that played at the Garden Grove benefit show, I actually hit up Rory, the singer of Dayseeker, which is a
Nice.
band that I think is great, and I'm
Mhm.
just such a fan of. I'm a fan of their earlier stuff too, right? The heavy stuff, but I think what they've done the past couple releases has been really phenomenal, and I think Rory's a huge talent and has an amazing voice, and he's an amazing guy that went and played. The charity event, took time out of his busy schedule to come do the show. We got to hang out a little bit, and I think I'm just a fan of him.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course, I would love to collab with him. I don't know if there's a world in which that makes sense, but he's
never
just
know.
he's just someone that I think is really cool. And yeah, yeah,
That'd be really cool though. That'd be very interesting. Definitely different, but that'd be cool.
yeah.
All in all. Is there any dream bands that you would love to tour with that you haven't toured with because you guys played with practically everyone?
Well, unrealistically, I would love to tour with Nine Inch Nails because
Sick.
I've loved Nine Inch Nails since I was in like seventh grade.
Mhm.
I actually waited on the Ticketmaster queue to buy tickets for their tour in September. I'm gonna go see them at the Kia Forum or whatever it is.
Nice.
So yeah, would love to tour with them. That's never happening. But kind of more in our scene. Man, honestly, just any of the bands that we came up with, I would love to tour with. We got to tour with Bayside last year. They took us out when they were promoting their new album, and we hadn't toured with them since like 2007. So it was great to talk about old times and tour with
Right.
them again. And just any of those bands, it's always great to see again.
And would you want it to be like kind of you guys tour on a record, not exactly the one you guys are going to, but maybe a different one?
Yeah. Yeah, would love that. I think we'll see what we do after this, but hopefully we put out some new music and can tour on new music. It's a little tougher to tour on new music because especially like we've been in a band for over 20 years, people are
Right.
so already familiar with songs that they listened to growing up that touring on new music exclusively is like a totally different thing because those are new songs that people aren't really as familiar with. But I think we have enough fans that are open enough to our
Mhm.
new stuff that would be willing to do a more new music focused tour. So we'll see. I would love to do that next year.
And we can't do this interview without talking about you guys disbanding several times. With you guys doing that and coming back, what keeps you guys motivated nowadays, especially with, like, coming out with, like, new songs, like and do you prefer to do singles over full records?
Yeah. So I guess what keeps us motivated is just it's just life. I mean, to be honest, like when I started Armor for Sleep and writing the songs, Armor for Sleep was just like a moniker I gave for my songs that I was putting out. So like it's always gonna be coming from that from that place of wanting to put out the next batch of songs. And what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
I brought up that, like, because a lot of bands just mostly do releasing singles
Oh,
now. Do you
singles.
prefer doing that over albums now?
I mean, to me, to be honest, my heart is always going to be in like full length records. I think
Mhm.
that's always how I think about things. But we live in 2025,
Mhm.
and the way people consume music is just different now. And
Right.
so either I could fight against that and be like, no, we're only going to drop full length albums and that's it. But I think that would be a disservice to the songs because I think people are
Right.
used to consuming songs a little differently. So I just think And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. I think it's cool. Like I listen to singles when they drop, and I probably pay more attention to songs being released that way. So I think we just have to adapt a little bit. And you know, it was cool that we dropped 2 singles over the past like 6 months, and the reaction was good.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was necessarily too bad. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I think ultimately when we do release music, just because of the way that I think about when I write songs,
Mhm.
it will be at some point a cohesive album, but maybe the way we put it out will be more of like a trickle putting out singles.
And do you think we'll ever see, music videos from the last 2 singles you did?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, do bands do that? I feel like
Yeah, I feel like it's semi-relevant. I feel like that helps especially on social media.
yeah, yeah, no. I know music videos are, but I feel like once we've already put them out in the world, is it weird to go back and be like, "Hey, remember that song we dropped 6 months ago? Here's the video." Or will people be like, "Yo, put out a new song. We've been listening to that for 6 months." So,
Right?
yeah, I don't know. A part of me is like, "Okay, do we do that or do we just drop a new song that has a fresh music video on it?" You
Right.
know, because like, I guess to answer one part of your question, I definitely wanna get back to doing music videos. I think for the last 2 singles we did, we are just like, let's put out music because we wanted to,
Mhm.
without the full music video treatment. There were some logistical reasons why it was hard for us to get together to do it. But in the future, I think we definitely want to dig in a little bit more and have like a whole visual presentation with the audio as well.
Right.
So, but I would, you know, I do like the first 2 singles that we put out. I would like to do videos for them. I just don't want to piss off people who are like, yo, do a video for a new song. We've already listened to that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I just wanna see if they're gonna be as crazy because, like I said, looking back, all your
Oh,
videos are wild, like, there's
yeah.
so much, but it's so cool at the same time, you know?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's just probably because, like, I don't know, if we're gonna go through all the trouble of making a music video, let's make it cool, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And then we start getting into the weeds of, like, you know, how much can we put in there for people who wanna watch it 15 times, not 1
yeah.
time? But yeah, I love that.
And, how have you guys, like, learned to adapt over the years? You guys came out really early, like, in the 2000s, and now we're in 2025. How'd you guys learn to adapt?
You know, honestly, I think the answer to that is you just adapt by throwing yourself into the deep end. And you know, like when we started touring again in 2022, we hadn't done it for a long time, and we're definitely rough around the edges in terms of like time do we get to the venue, what's expected of us, like just because we weren't touring. But we jumped in there, and we're just like, we're here. If we fucked up, let us know. And you know, so you know, I guess just like how we've always done things, we just learn by putting ourselves in those situations. And if we mess up, we learn for next time. And you know, like for instance, we messed up doing we had like a VIP thing with our fans on the Dream to Make Believe tour, and we promised everyone who bought tickets a certain vinyl.
Mhm.
And we were working with an old management team at the time, and they basically didn't allot the correct vinyl variant for those people, and it sucked. You know, it sucked to have to. We made it okay with all those fans. We were like, hey, everyone who arrived to the show who we didn't have the vinyl for, give us your address because we're gonna send them to you in the mail. And we did make it right, but like that was definitely one of those things that we're like, okay, we were not prepared for all of the VIP people, and we need to do a better job of making sure our fans are taken care of. And again, we made it right with them.
Right.
But that was one of those things, you know, that's like, damn, we got button it up.
That's a crazy moment.
Yeah.
And I gotta talk about, do you have any tour rituals or do you guys have any crazy rider requests?
You know, it's funny. It's like most bands when they tour for longer, their rider gets bigger and bigger and crazier, right? You see the riders of like Blue M&Ms only or whatever.
Yeah.
So for us, the trajectory has been the opposite. The longer we tour, the smaller our rider gets, because the longer we tour, the bigger our rider is, the more crap we have to throw out at the end of every show. And like we're like throwing out fruit trays and deli meats, and it's like, why did we get this much stuff? We don't need it. So
Right,
our rider is like a 6 pack of Diet Coke, a 6 pack of beer for our guitar player,
right.
peanut butter jelly. Like it's like the smallest, dumbest shit. And like it's the perfect, it's like what we go through, and it's none of what we don't need. And yeah, so really there's nothing really required. I would say, strangely for me, and this is probably not the healthiest, but I just need Diet Cokes. I live off Diet Coke, and as long as there's a 6 pack of Diet Coke, I'm ready to rip a show.
So is that your biggest vice then you would say?
Yeah, caffeine in general. Coffee in the morning, Diet Coke in the afternoon, and then melatonin to fall asleep, and I'm ready for the next show.
And do you have any rituals like singing? Do you practice? Do you do practice riffs?
I'm not a big warm-up guy. Honestly, touring is pretty rough on my voice, but like
Mhm.
after show like 3 or 4, my voice is like beat up in a good way, and that's like all the warm-up I need. You know what I mean? Like the first
Right.
3 shows are always like I feel like it's like using the muscles a lot, and then after that it's warmed up and ready for every show. So there's not much warming up I have to do. We don't like huddle together before we play. Honestly, what I think is a cool ritual is a big thing for us is before we play, there's like a 15 or 20-minute changeover from the band before us till we get up and play. And that's usually when we're standing on the side of the stage. Some of us go up and
Right.
set up our equipment. And we also tell the guy at the front of house in the club to play a playlist of the songs to play in the club before we play. And half of that is to get the vibes right, before we come on stage. But honestly, the
Right.
other half is to hype us up. So we put our favorite songs in there. And like I remember last tour, there was a Dayseeker song we liked. There was a couple Sleep Token songs. So like honestly, that's a ritual, like hearing the music playing in the club of like our favorite songs. So if you guys come to one of our shows and you're like listening to the songs that play before we hit the stage, just know that we're probably like right out of view on the side of the stage, like smiling and like bobbing back and forth to the music. So that's probably the closest thing that comes to like a pre-show ritual.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And with you touring, how does your playlist from day to day change from when you go on tour?
Like what plays in the club, you mean? How does that change
Well,
from
I
day to
mean,
day?
just for you, like, in general, like, what you listen to day to
Okay.
from going on tour.
Well, I will be spending a lot of time listening to podcasts, I think. Just because we're gonna be spending so much time traveling
Right,
from club to club that to give my ears a little bit of a break, I try and listen to podcasts. Also, I feel like listening to podcasts, it's almost like reading. I'm
right.
absorbing information. So I spend a lot of time listening to various different podcasts on tour. More so than music to pass the time, believe it or not.
That's very interesting. Is there any
Mhm.
type you like, sci-fi, crime, true crime, or anything like that?
As boring as it is, I listen to a lot of physics podcasts, uh,
Was not expecting that.
astronomy, yeah, lots of theoretical physics kind of stuff. I like also some tech podcasts. I'm a big sucker for like, what's new in the tech industry and yeah, that's probably I'm probably exposing my nerdiness, but yeah, I like any kind of like science podcast too. I'm a big fan of.
Well, I was gonna ask, is there anything outside of music that no one would expect from you? But I'm assuming that it's your nerdiness of physics and astronomy and all that stuff.
Yeah. That yeah, I mean, when I'm home, I don't get to do this a lot on tour, but I'm very big at home into CrossFit. Um
Okay.
I think a lot of people wouldn't expect that. People associate me with this little like emo kid from back in the day. But, honestly, I do it more for, to have a schedule when I'm home. So
Right.
every day at 9 a.m., I go to my CrossFit gym for an hour class, and then, I come back and I feel like I've accomplished something. And,
Right.
I think a lot of people in bands get in trouble when they go on tour. You have
Mhm,
such a schedule,
mhm.
you gotta show up to the club, do sound check, all this stuff, and then it's hard to get home and be in like silence every day where you're not expected to clock in. There are no fans coming to see you or talk to you. And so for me it's really important to have a routine when I'm home. So that's why I started doing CrossFit. And if anyone out there is looking for any kind of like structure to their day, especially in terms of physical activity, I'd encourage any kind of like fitness class like that.
That'd be very interesting. And I love asking bands because you guys go on tour frequently. You guys have there's always a restaurant that most of you guys hit. What's your guys' restaurant and what's your order?
Hmm. Man, so many. I've discovered so many great places across the country. I gotta say, all right, I'll just go here. I'm from New Jersey, from the East
Mhm.
Coast. Now I live in California. One thing we do not have in these places is the fine establishment, mostly in the south of the country, called Waffle House. I don't know if you're
Ah,
familiar with Waffle
yeah,
House.
I am.
It's like it's America's diner, even though that's technically Denny's. I feel like Waffle House is the real America's Diner. They're amazing, cheap waffles, and then of course, eggs, sausage, and toast, and it's just like the best breakfast ever. Lots of people are snooty about it and make fun of me for liking Waffle House, but plenty of friends that come on tour love Waffle Houses, and like when we're in the South and we see Waffle Houses, it's like a tradition that we have to go into at least one.
Right.
I definitely will be going to multiple Waffle Houses in March. That's for sure.
You probably have, like, a map where you're like, "I've been to the" it shows all the ones you've been throughout.
Oh my god,
That'd be
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
That'd be funny. And, what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, like I said, I don't like to fully live in regret, but I think your question stays away from that. So I think if I could give any advice to myself, to my younger self, it would be to trust myself a little bit more and be a little bit more assertive, especially artistically. You know, I was really young when I was writing the first Armor for Sleep songs. You know, I think
Right.
I was 16 and 17 years
That's
old when I
crazy.
wrote Dream to Make Believe. And I guess there was a part of me that felt like I didn't deserve to be having the final say over what goes on an album. I mean, those were some of the first songs I ever wrote. And looking back on it now and seeing that, like, and of course, I'm not
Mhm.
saying we turned out to be the biggest band ever,
Right.
but at least experienced a moderate amount of success and
Oh, yeah.
did, you know, touch at least some people's lives. I wish I could just go back and tell myself to trust myself a little bit more, you know, to say like trust your instincts, don't be so worried or think you're going to fail, you know, just keep your head down and you know, I think that would have saved me a lot of heartache and a lot
Mhm.
of wasted time and doubt in myself. You know, and that also helps me now too because I think, yeah, I wish I could go back in time and tell myself to be more assertive. And that helps
Mhm.
me now when I face situations in my life to just be like, hey, just trust yourself as long as obviously you're not hurting anyone in this world, you know, just, you know, have faith in the decisions that you think are good for you to make.
That's great advice. And for you, you grew up inside such like a genre that everyone loved. What would your Mount Rushmore be of that genre?
Yeah, I've got a couple opinions. I mean, I mean, I was around a lot of, you know, what has now become this very like important scene to a lot of people back when it was, you know, before My Chem and Fall Out Boy were on MTV, before this whole thing bubbled over. So I've seen a lot. And I've had time to reflect on it. So I think one album that deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore of this whole scene that we've come from is an album from a band called Say Anything, called Is a Real Boy. I'm friends with the singer Max. We used to tour, or we did tour with Say Anything back in the day, and I actually we both lived in New York at the same time together, so kind of had a lot of mutual friends back in the day too. And I think Is a Real Boy is kind of takes everything that was going on at the time, and you know, Max being the genius that he is took everything to the next level and to such a theatrical place. And there's so many levels of that album, and I think that is the pinnacle of this entire scene. And I'm also not alone for thinking this. They did
Right.
a 20-year tour of that album, and it was like sold out at massive venues everywhere. And
That's of
you know, I just think there's something that's a step above everything else. Like
course.
that record is just phenomenal. So yeah, good job, Max.
And of course, so you guys are gonna do this tour. What else can we expect from you guys in 2025?
2025 is going to be a big year for us. I think I should probably now's an opportune time to bite my tongue, but you know, I've maybe alluded to some stuff, but I think we are going to put out some new music, and
Nice.
I can't wait for people to hear it. And you know, I'm just excited to put new stuff out in the world, and I have no expectations other than I just, you know, I want it to be out there, and we'll take it from there.
Perfect. And last question, where can everyone keep up with you and buy music from you guys or anything?
We're on this new app called Spotify. If anyone wants to stream stuff, we're on Instagram at Armor for Sleep. I am on Instagram at Ben Jorg, BenJorg. And then yeah, go to armorforsleep.com if you want to come out to the 20-year tour. March 6th to April 6th, we're playing 25 shows basically, I think everything is, like, within an hour drive from every, like, major market in the country. I'm sure
Right.
some people are gonna yell at me. I'm sorry about the places we're not coming. I wish we could play everywhere, but, come out to the show. It's gonna be a really good time. I believe actually, like, the tickets are, like, the cheapest that tickets can be for, like, a modern show. I know ticket prices have gone up. I think tickets are, like, $30,
That's not bad.
maybe $35. I don't know about all the fees and everything, but, like, just come to a show. The show's gonna be over by, like, 11. You'll be in bed. You'll be able to go to work the next day. Just come out to a show. It's gonna be a really good time.
Perfect, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to be on the show.
Yeah, of course, Emily.
Thank you. Well, I'm gonna
Thank you so
end the
much.
interview.